So, the Smugglers. Has there ever been like a proper good season opener in old school Doctor Who? Because this sure ain't it. I know that technically the show was produced in unique production blocks that technically qualify as a season, but to me it always seemed like it was just one long continuity. That being said, The Smugglers is the first serial of the show's fourth season, which, much like An Unearthly Child, Planet of Giants, and Galaxy 4, gets in, tells its story, and gets out without aiming for anything higher than just average. It's yet another inoffensive and inessential viewing experience. The end, thanks for watching. I'ma be honest with you, all on the same day, I woke up, recorded my review of The Savages, sat down to watch The War Machines, wrote the entire script of The War Machines, and then sat down again to watch The Smugglers back to back. Whether it was fatigue or just the fact that it's yet another lost serial or maybe a combination of both, but I really struggled to even follow what was meant to be going on here. Being that it was a completely missing serial, I had to use Dailymotion again in order to watch some form of reconstruction. Now, there was a loose cannon telesnap recon, but I ended up going with the fan animation of the same style by Who Recons that I watched The Massacre and The Savages with. That was a mistake. Now lately, I've been actually preferring the Who Recons animation for the additional movement, filling in the gaps where there's no dialogue, but I don't know what it is with this one, but there's just way too many repeated character models, and honestly, just the laziest movement so far. Just a lot of standing around with not much going on, particularly in moments of conflict. Picture this, you've got two character models facing off against each other, really close, but not actually moving. Meanwhile, you're hearing what sounds like a struggle or a sword fight, eventually leading in somebody crying out in pain, presumably dying, and one of the character models just pokes the other one on the shoulder and they fall down dead. Seriously? That's it? And since the character models look so similar, I had no idea what was going on half the time. Suffice it to say, if you're dead set keen on watching The Smugglers, go for the loose cannon recon. At least that way you'll be able to tell which characters are which. I mean, I assume so. I'm not watching this one again anytime soon. I'll admit, I did get distracted by a phone notification very briefly while watching episode 1, and by the time I looked back up the telly, I had no idea what was going on. I didn't recognise any of the characters, the locations. I was lost. Alright, enough ragging on the animation. How's the story? Well, believe it or not, I had to pause partway through episode 3 to look up the plot synopsis on Wikipedia so I could actually tell what had happened so far. And it worked! As I watched the episode on screen, I would follow along with the plot breakdown online so I could actually keep up with it. I know it sounds like a chore, and believe me it was, but I don't think it was a terrible story. Oh yeah, the story! So after Ben and Polly board the TARDIS right before takeoff, they are immediately inducted into the TARDIS team without a single mention of Dodo. And they don't have any reaction to the whole bigger on the inside thing as well. What is it with companions lately and just walking into a tiny police box, seeing a huge spaceship on the inside and just being like, and? I suppose it was the 60s. Basically, it all revolves around the trio discovering a smuggling ring in 17th century Cornwall, which is bad, I suppose. And there are pirates involved, but they don't actually get to do anything exciting. Like, you've got pirates and they don't get to do any swashbuckling? What's wrong with you? It's kind of cool with Ben and Polly being accused of murder, and he knows that they know, but they don't know that he knows that we know kind of thing. There's some proper old-timey sounding dialogue, which I can only assume is historically accurate. There's mention of the infamous Captain Pirate Henry Avery, who's dead by the events of the story, but he's dead by the events of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag as well, but you can find a tavern named after him in that game, I'm pretty sure, unless there's another pirate named Avery. Anyway, he's also the Henry Avery that Nathan Drake keeps going on about in Uncharted 4, so, you know, there's a connection to something you might have actually heard of. But again, he's long gone before the events of the Smugglers, so we follow his old crew as they search for his long-lost treasure, which I guess technically makes this another real-world historical time period story. Now, what shocked me the most is that according to Wikipedia, this is the last like real-world historical tale in Doctor Who until the Fifth Doctor's Black Orchid, which is like 15 years away? Wow, really? That baffles me, given the structure of the show up to this point, alternating between sci-fi adventures and historical epics. But at the very least, I guess that... Did it work? I think it worked. Hi, it's me from the future. I've just come back to say I mucked up. This isn't actually the last historical serial until Black Orchid. There's still one more to go, and it's coming real soon. Spoilers. Alright, where was I before the introduction? Something about the show structure, yada yada. You'll remember. Wow, really? That baffles me, given the structure of the show up to this point, alternating between sci-fi adventures and historical epics. But at the very least, I guess that means I have a lot of strictly science fiction stories to look forward to in the future. Plus, I didn't know Black Orchid was a historical tale. I thought it was just a boring murder mystery with lots of cricket. I know I'm really reaching to make this seem more exciting, but truth is it's not. A more cynical critic would probably say that it's better off being lost. I don't know if I'd go that far. As I said, it's a fairly harmless story. And I reckon if I did actually go back and watch that loose cannon reconstruction, then maybe I would be able to follow it a bit easier and perhaps find some enjoyment out of it. But it's really not worth watching twice back to back, if at all. And honestly, I just can't be bothered right now. Because we've got some truly epic back-to-back adventures ahead of us. 2 stories that would change the television landscape as we know it forever. Or knew it back in the 60s if publications at the time were to be believed. Excuse me. Thank you for watching. Sorry if it was a bit boring, but I promise you next week's review will be anything but. So feel free to tune back in next time while I review The 10th Planet, William Hartnell's final time as the Doctor, not including the 3 Doctor special. See you then. If I could just get over this nasty cough.